Namaste. I and you bow. Hopefully not to each other, but you know. Ichvara, right? The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. We continue and hopefully finish the translation of the Yoga Sutras without the comment are the explanations. The third book, Supernormal Powers. First direct aid, fixed attention. 1. Knower the focus processing of knowing upon the object to be known. 1. Binding the mind stuff to a place is fixed attention. Second direct aid, 7 contemplation. 2. A two-termed relation between the process of knowing and the object to be known. 2. Focusedness of the presented idea upon that is contemplation. Third direct aid, 8. Concentration. 3. A fusion of the knower and the process of knowing with the object to be known. 3. This same. Shining forth as intended object and nothing more. And, as it were, emptied of itself, is concentration. Transition to the seedless concentration, 4 through 10. The direct aids in combination result in insight and restricted subliminal impressions, and the calm flow of the mind stuff. 4. The 3 in 1 are constraint. 5. As a result of mastering this constraint, there follows the shining forth of insight. 6. Its application is by stages. 7. The 3 are direct aids in comparison with the previous. 8. Even these are indirect aids to seedless. 9. When there is a becoming invisible of the subliminal impressions of emergence and becoming visible of the subliminal impressions of restriction, the mutation of restriction is inseparably connected with the mind stuff in its period of restriction. 10. This flows peacefully by reason of the subliminal impression. Mutations of substances, 11 through 15, and the focused state of the concentration holds 2 time forms within the span of attention. Mutations are in fixed orders of subliminal impressions in the restricted state. 11. The mutation of concentration is the dwindling of the dispersiveness and the uprisal of singleness of intent belonging to the mind stuff. 12. Then again, when the quiescent and the uprisen presented ideas are similar, the mind stuff has a mutation single in intent. 13. Thus, with regard to elements and to organs, mutations of external aspect and of the time variation and of intensity have been enumerated. 14. A substance conforms itself to quiescent and uprisen and indeterminable external aspects. 15. The order of the sequence is the reason for the order of the mutations. So 15, right? Application of constraints to different orders of mutation, 16 through 52. Given a single mutation of external aspect or time, form, and intensity, the whole sequence comes under control of the concentrated insight. 16. As a result of constraint upon the 3 mutations, the knowledge of the past and the future. 17. Word for intended object and presented idea are confused because they are erroneously identified with each other by constraint upon the distinctions between them. Knowledge of the cries of all living beings. 18. As a result of direct perception of the subliminal impressions, there is knowledge of previous births. Well, things you can label as previous births, but is that really what's going on? 19. Upon a presented idea, knowledge of the mind stuff of another, 20, but does not have that together with that upon which it depends, since that is not in the field, 21, as a result of constraint upon the form of the body, when its power to be known is stopped, then as a consequence of the disjunction of the light and of the eye, there follows indiscernibility. 22. Advancing and not advancing in karma, as a result of constraint upon this, are from the signs of death. Knowledge of the latter end. 23. Upon friendliness and other powers. 24. Upon powers like those of an elephant. 25. As a result of casting the light of a sense activity, knowledge of the subtle and the concealed and the obscure. 26. As a result of the constraint upon the sun, knowledge of the cosmic spaces. 27. Upon the moon, knowledge of the arrangement of the stars. 28. Upon the pole star, knowledge of their movements. 29. Upon the wheel of the navel, knowledge of the arrangement of the body. 30. Upon the well of the throat, there is sensation of hunger and thirst. 31. Upon the tortoise tube, motionlessness of the mind stuff. 32. Upon the radiance in the head, the sight of the siddhas. 33. Or as a result of vividness, the yogin discerns all, or relatively all, or the assumption, the feeling like, oh, I know all you need to know, perhaps. 34. Upon the heart, a consciousness of the mind stuff. 35. Expression is a presented idea which fails to distinguish the sattva and the self, which are absolutely uncommingled. Since the sattva exists as an object for another, the knowledge of the self arises as the result of constraint upon that which exists for its own sake. 36. As a result of this, there arise vividness, and the organ of hearing, and the organ of touch, and the organ of sight, and the organ of taste, and the organ of smell. 37. In concentration, these are obstacles. In the emergent state, they are perfections. 38. As a result of slackening, the causes of bondage, and as a result of the knowledge of the procedure, the mind penetrates into the body of another. 39. As a result of mastering the udana, there is no adhesion to water or mud, or thorns or similar objects, and the upward flight. 40. As a result of mastering the samana, a radiance. 40. As a result of constraint upon the relation between the organ of hearing and the air, the supernal organ of hearing. 42. Either as a result of constraint upon the relation between the body and the air, or as a result of the balanced state of lightedness, such as that of the cotton fiber, there follows the passing through air. 43. An outwardly adjusted fluctuation in the great discarnate, as a result of this and the dwindling of the covering to the brightness. 44. As a result of the constraint upon the coarse and the essential attribute, and the subtle and the inherence and purposiveness, there is a mastery of the elements. 45. As a result of this, atomization and the other come about, perfection of body, and there is no obstruction by properties of these. 46. Beauty and grace and power and compactness of the thunderbolt, perfection of body. 47. As a result of constraint upon the process of knowing, and the essential attribute, and the feeling of personality, and the inherence and purposiveness, the subjugation of the organs. 48. As a result of this, speed of the central organ, action of the instruments, disjunct, and the subjugation of the primary cause. 49. He who has only the full discernment into the difference between the sattva and the self is one who has the authority over all states of existence, and is one who knows all. 50. As a result, passionlessness, even with regard to those, there follows, after the dwindling of the seeds of the defects, isolation. 51. In the case of invitations for those in high places, these should arouse no attachment or pride, for undesired consequences recur. 52. As a result of constraint upon moments and their sequence, knowledge proceeding from discrimination, culmination of concentration. 53 through 55. The particular which is indiscernible in respect of class or term or point in space is intuitively discerned. The widest span of objectivity is also discerned. This is the attainment of isolation. (53) As a result of this, there arises the deeper knowledge of the two equivalent things, which cannot be distinctly qualified in species or characteristic mark, or point of space. 54. The knowledge proceeding from discrimination is a deliverer, has all things as its object, and has all times for its object, and is and without sequence. 55. When the purity of the sattva and the self are equal, there is isolation. Book 4th, Isolation, Substances and Subconsciousness, 1 through 13. Correspondence between imperceptible forms of substance and latent expressions of concentrated states. 1. Perfections proceed from birth, or from drugs, or from spells, or from self-castigation, or from concentration. 2. The mutation into another birth is the result of the filling in of the evolving cause. 3. The efficient cause gives no impulse to the evolving causes, but follows when the barrier is cut, as happens with the peasant. 4. Created mind stuffs may result from the sense of personality, and from this alone. 5. While there is a variety of actions, the mind stuff which impels the many is one. 6. Of these, that which proceeds from the contemplation leaves no latent deposit. 7. The yogin's karma is neither white nor black. Of others is of 3 kinds. 8. As a result of this, there follows the manifestation of those subconscious impressions only, which correspond to the fruition of their. 9. There is an uninterrupted causal relation, although remote in species and point of space and moments of time, by reason of the correspondence between memory and supplemental impressions. 10. Furthermore, they have no beginning, since desire is permanent. 11. Sense are associated with cause and motive, and mental substrate and stimulus. If these cease to be, then those cease to be. 12. Past and future, as such, exist. For the different time forms belong to the external aspects. 13. These are phenomenalized, are subtle, and their essence is the aspects. No. Polemic against idealism. 14 through 23. Knowledge of the stream of consciousness is impossible unless it be a permanent order, as constrained with the succession of transient appearance. 14. The thatness of a thing is due to a singleness of mutation. 15. Because, while the thing remains the same, the mind stuffs are different. Therefore, the two are different, distinct levels of existence. 16. And a thing is not dependent upon a single mind stuff. It could not be proved. Then what would it be? 17. A thing known or not known by virtue of its affecting the mind stuff. 18. Unintermittently the master of that, knows the fluctuation of mind stuff. The self undergoes no mutations. 19. It does not illuminate itself, since it is an object for sight. 20. And there cannot be a cognition of both at the same time. 21. If were the object for sight, for another, there would be an infinite regress from one thinking substance to another, thinking substance as well as confusion of memory. 22. The intellect, which unites not, is conscious of its own thinking substance, when takes the form of that. 23. Mind stuff affected by the seer and by the object for sight, all intended objects. Complete self-realization of the self. 24 through 34. All hindrances subside. All acts of the self are spontaneous and free. Absence of limitations which thwart one who wishes to attain the ultimate ideal of his own nature. 24. This, although diversified by countless subconscious impressions, exists for the sake of another, because its nature is to produce combinations. 25. For him who sees the distinction, pondering upon his own states of being ceases. 26. Then the mind stuff is borne down to discrimination, onward towards isolation. 27. In the intervals of this, there are other presented ideas from subliminal impressions. 28. The escape from these is described as being like the hindrances. 29. For one who is not usurious, even in respect of elevation, there follows in every case, as a result of discriminative discernment, the concentration, rain cloud of things. 30. Then follows the cessation of the hindrances and of karma. 31. Then, because of the endlessness of knowledge from which all obscuring defilements have passed away, what is yet to be known amounts to little. 32. When as a result of this, the aspects, guna, have fulfilled their purpose, they attain to the limit of the sequence of mutations. 33. The positive correlate to the monument, recognized as such, at the final limit of the mutation is a sequence. 34. Isolation is the inverse generation of the aspects, no longer provided with a purpose by the self, or is the energy of the intellect grounded in itself. Now, I do plan to go on and say more about this. And, but think of this in different stages. The karmi yoga, the one that becomes at peace with the fruitive nature of things, the physical going through the motions, upon a choice, a chosen path, a chosen what's worshipped or respected or whatever. And then you move on, then there's difficulty to obtain different states, and finally you obtain a mastery that's beyond, it's not saying you put aside these rules and relationships and skills that you have obtained in these states. It's that, you're experiencing the path beyond that. So you go from the green to the black to the white. Islam, as they would call it. Jihadin fi sabilillah, as they would call it. Khulafa, as it would be called. Master. I bow for you. Not to you, for you.